Alright, so bands we've got Herc, Void, and Human Torch. Alright, Sasquatch boss, we've got Quicksilver, Cassie, and Titania. Mangog, Titania, Quicksilver, and Cassie. Wong, Titania, Quicksilver, Cassie. Bishop, Infamous Doom, and Future Ant-Man. And then Korg, Omega Red, and Apocalypse. Shared Islands, Doom, you've got Silk, Quicksilver, Cassie, Rintraw, Cassie, Cassie, Silk, Titania, Gorr, Rintraw, Wiccan, Tigra, Fury, Kitty Pryde, Apocalypse, Quicksilver, Jabari Panther, Crossbones, Hulkling, and then Apocalypse, Nimrod, Omega Sentinel, Hulkling, Galan, Tigra, Wiccan, Rintraw, Modok, Valkyrie, Shang-Chi would work, so would Killmonger, so would Magneto, and then Sauron, Omega Sentinel, in Viv. Path 1, you can go with Omega Sentinel or Mysterio for pretty much the whole thing. If you don't want to use those two options for Mordo, you can go with Quicksilver and Titania. Path 2, go with Silk, Cassie, Quicksilver for your Mystics, and then bring a counter to Kingpin, Storms, Apocalypse, Omega Red. And then Path 3, Galan or Hulkling in that first section, and then you can use Nebula or Cosmic Ghost Rider for G99, and then lean more Hulkling for Nimrod. Path 4, I would go with Crossbones, Moleman, or Fury for your science options. For Moleman, bring a Mutant, Omega Red, Apocalypse, fine. And then for Null, go with Shang-Chi or Absorbing Man. Path 5, Thing, and Kate, I would pretty much just go with Valkyrie for both. You can also work in Apocalypse there. And then in Section 2 for Kitty Pryde, Omega Sentinel, or Nimrod, and I've seen Spot and Titania work for Absorbing Man. And then Path 6, the first section, I would go with Hulkling or Galan. You can use either for Danny, and then you can go with Cosmic Ghost Rider or Omega Red for Killmonger. Path 7, I'm sure you can get away with using Apocalypse for the whole thing. Or you can go with Omega Red and then bring a robot for the Defender, Omega Red. Path 8, for most of it, you could probably get away with Tigra, Rintraw, and Wiccan. And then for Maw, bring Silk, Quicksilver, or Titania. If you are not comfortable with those neutralized mystics for Adam, you can go with Doom or Claire. And then Path 9, pretty simple for Silk, Quicksilver, Cassie, Titania, for all of those sugar pill fights, and then bring Hulkling is going to be your best counter for Peni, but Valkyrie will also work. So that does it for defense. Let's take a look at attack. Alright, so War 9, I decide to run Path 9. I bring in Hulkling, Tigra, and my Ascended 5-star Quicksilver. I end up taking 3 shared fights and 2 mini boss fights. So Ascended Quicksilver because my 6-star is on defense and I got bored with Titania and Silk, so I just wanted to kind of show off using Quicksilver. Claire here, she gets the Fury and is going to have it the entire fight since I do gain the Hazard Chip debuffs, and will never get rid of them, but I take no damage from them due to the DOT resistance of Decay. On top of that, even though Claire has a Fury, her bleeds will be boosted in damage. Those bleeds also won't do any damage to me due to the Decay tactic. So that was kind of like a mental hump, let's say, I had to get over. I kept thinking, well, Claire's bleeds are going to do too much, and then I go, oh, wait a minute. That's dampened by the fact that Quicksilver has very easy access to debuffs, and they stay on for the entirety of the fight. So yeah, this is just showcasing how nutty he can be with this Decay tactic, and yeah, somewhat sad my 6-star is on defense. And it took War 9 to kind of show this off, but at least there's another season. So going pretty well here. I just play it pretty basic. Combo to special 2. When special 2 is ready, medium, light, medium into the special 2, so that we get that trauma on there. And when the whiplash detonate, they do extra damage. So there's the medium, light, medium into the last special 2, and she KOs during the combo. And we're pretty much at full health with a 5-star. We move on to an even easier fight, this Sorcerer Supreme. Here she's pretty much just not going to gain any power. So the other major benefit of this decay is that since I'm immune to the placebo buffs from the decay tactic, I actually place 5 extra withers using Quicksilver. So he has even more power gain, passive power gain reversal with this tactic. So someone like Sorcerer Supreme who has her own passive power gain, we just reverse pretty much all of it. And once she throws this special attack, she's just at 0 for the rest. Medium, light, medium into special 2. This one does KO a 7-star. So again, pretty close to full health, even with that challenger rating. Section 2, we start off with a Spidey Supreme here. He's easier on this node since we can parry heavy, and that's what I do with Spidey Supreme in the beginning. Common misconception: when he gets the 300 momentum, he places that first slow N counters miss, and the miss counter is not tied to the slow. So even if that slow disappears, we still counter miss. And for this node, I decide to parry a couple times to kind of back him up before I get to the 300 momentum. And then once we get to that 300, we are just turning Spidey Supreme into nothing. So yeah, he would still go invisible against Quicksilver, just like he does against Silk. Anytime I throw a medium, I gain that Spidey buff, and it causes him to phase. But since Quicksilver counters miss, it's not a problem at all. And then he's got a tiny health pool, so just get a bunch of whiplashes on him, go into the special 2 with the medium, light, medium, and then just watch him blip out of existence. So 3 fights, challenger rating, big factor, and we end up finishing those fights with a lot of health. Next up, Peni, we're going to take with Hulkling. This can be done with Valkyrie as well. I mean, really simple. We just hit into block. We can hit into Peni while we're in the shock phase, but in the bleed phase, we're going to hit into block, but not going unblockable during that phase. And just kind of waiting out that phase when we get close to a special 2, and waiting for the shock phase to drop an unblockable special 2 to get the double fury and just finish off Peni Parker. So hard counter here. The only way it would be any harder is if Hulkling was somehow immune to bleed as well. But as you can see here, it's not a problem at all. I'm going to hold block so that she hopefully turtles at me, throws a heavy, and then I finish with a combo, even though it's into a block. So, like I said, hard counter. On to the shared fights. The first one, this is where Tigra kind of came into play. I wanted to focus on some Tigra play. So Galan here, I like to start Tigra fights out with a parry and then throw a couple hits. And then once we are there, kind of bait out the heavy. Now with Galan, I just felt more comfortable pushing him to special 1 immediately, baiting that out, going in, charging the heavy, dropping the heavy. And then from here, it's game over. This fight is over in about 30 seconds. Down he goes. Nothing really to it at all. Could have been faster if I just retaliated the heavy, but I'd rather get, because of personal space, that neutralize it up. Move on to the next fight, Gorr. And this one kind of functioning the same. I'm going to combo him to special 1, and then from there, heavy retaliate the special 1. And then hopefully that'll be enough power gain from the unblockable, or from the heavy retaliate, that we get pushed to special 2. We pretty much end the fight. Now we can get in range with the heavy here. He doesn't give us a heavy, so I combo again. There's the heavy counter. That gives us a bunch of power. Here comes the special 1. Heavy retaliate. We're into special 2. Protection is gone. from the stand your ground, and just like Galan, Gorr disappears. So good Tigra practice. Those are the kind of fights that I would bring her in a real tier 1 war. And then I decide to take Apocalypse here. We're just going to take it with Hulkling, kind of make this fight function the same way Peni did. Really aggressive during the shock phase, during the bleed phase, kind of turtle, and then set ourselves up to go unblockable during the shock phase and drop the big special 2 with the double furies. So here, not really focused on which special attack Apocalypse throws. We are more so focused on not triggering any debuffs through a parry so that we don't give him any extra power and us having to bait out special attacks during our shock window. So here we are unblockable into the special 2. I'm going to turtle, get some attacks out. Hopefully he heavies, we intercept. So that opening was there. Turtle again, combo. Not going to be able to finish him, so we're going to let this special 2 come out, build a few pierce charges or buffs while we're in this bleed phase, but not enough to go unblockable. Dex that, hit him once, back up, turtle, hit into his block, and then finish the fight here with this special 2. So, shared islands all done. We move on to the 2 mini bosses. I decide to, without practicing, go into this bishop fight with Tigra. Feel pretty confident taking a bishop with Tigra. I just have not practiced his special 2, kind of putting Tigra in good position. And everything actually goes really well. So combo, get the neutralize up, start baiting out heavy attacks, retaliating them. I want to push him to special 2 and retaliate that instead of the special 1, so I don't have to deal with incinerate. And we're actually going to get to a nice special 2 situation here, where he's at special 2, I throw special 2, and the perfect scenario is that he'll stand up and throw special 2. However, Tigra decided to idle walk into that boot, and it ruined our rhythm. Now I go back in, I completely forget Bishop will start with 2 bars of power, so now I have to bait this out. Didn't practice, as I said, dashing in. Got lucky that the AI decided to stay back. Now we're going to bait out these heavies and get to a special 2 and finish it pretty much like the beginning of the previous attempt. Get to this point, toss the special 2, and finish the fight. So, unfortunate if you go back and watch the replay. That boot was nowhere near, and then Tigra decides to idle walk forward enough. And then the final fight, this Mangog here. Quicksilver, even without the tactic, completely overpowers Conflictor. In the beginning, it'll give the defender a decent amount of power, but then once you get your withers up, they just fluctuate from a bar and below a bar, and that just constantly pauses your withers. Now in this situation, we have even more withers, so keeping Mangog at 0 and dropping him below a bar once he reaches a bar, it's pretty easy. My challenge here with this fight was a couple times I didn't focus on when Conflictor was off cooldown and a stun gets eaten instead, which should almost never happen in this fight. And then there was a couple moments, I want to say twice, where I was just trying to bait out a special 1 and Mangog actually loses it and I don't pay attention. One other thing, and I was not prepared for this, I'm treating this like the AoE Mangog I've taken in the past, where I get the terminal velocity and double whiplashes. And I set everything up perfectly, but what I was not expecting, and I was actually just waiting for Conflictor to be on cooldown to make sure trauma stuck. What I was not expecting was for the double here to get eaten. So every whiplash that showed up for the double disappeared right there in that moment. And I was like, why aren't these detonating? Why am I not over 50? And then it clicked during the fight. So I'm in a mad rush at this moment, trying to get to special 2 before terminal velocity ends, and it ends, and then my trauma falls. So at this point, I'm like, okay, maybe we can get to a special 2 and detonate these with trauma, or maybe I can get back into terminal velocity, and here's me baiting out special 1, and he lost it already. So that was unfortunate. And I just decide, hey, I'm not going to hit terminal velocity before getting to special 2. Let me go ahead and just detonate them and take the damage that I get from that. So I'm still trying to build here. He's going to end up getting pushed over 50 before I can get to terminal velocity, so they actually end up expiring naturally without a trauma. So I made this fight insanely long. A lot longer than I needed to. But as you can see, it's really safe. This is a nothing Mangog pretty much. I just have to pay attention enough. And here I just decide, all right, we're just going to spam medium, light, medium, and special 2s and just finish this because there's not much left to build or to worry about. And he's just going to go down from, I believe, combos. I might make one more detonate right here just to finish it. Yeah, right here. Down he goes. So that was War 9. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit subscribe, give it a like, and I will catch you guys at the next war.